president started his day on the phone with President Xi. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall is going to join us to dig into this. I have just completed an excellent telephone conversation, he writes on Truth Social, with President Xi of China. It was a long and thorough call where many important subjects were discussed, including trade, military, the April trip that I will be making to China, Taiwan, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the current situation with Iran, the purchase of oil and gas by China from the U.S., the consideration by China of the purchase for additional agricultural products, and I could go on. This is an incredibly long post here and a run-on sentence for the ages. Tyler Kendall joins us, Bloomberg Washington correspondent, to get into this and what's happening in Minneapolis as well. Tyler, what came from this call that we can actually call a deliverable?
Well, at this moment, it appears that it was almost a check-in ahead of President Trump's visit to Beijing in April. We're a few months out from that. We know this is going to be a highly anticipated visit for President Trump that he's been touting ever since he struck that deal in South Korea late last year. Now, in terms of deliverables, it sounds like we raised the threshold of how China's going to be purchasing U.S. soybeans. So far, they've purchased about 12 million tons. President Trump says that they have committed to 20 million tons by the end of this harvest season. We know that enforcement mechanisms for pledged agricultural purchases like this has been something that the U.S. has really grappled with in recent years. So that's going to be a metric that we watch really closely. He also outlined that we can expect 25 million tons by next harvest year, though that's not necessarily new. The U.S. Treasury Secretary has been out previewing essentially that's the aims that they're going to be looking for. The pair also discussed Taiwan, also the war between Russia and Ukraine. That's notable, Joe, because it appears that Chinese President Xi Jinping was also busy this morning, because before he had this phone call with President Trump, he had a video call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, in which they touted the ties between those two countries when it comes to political ties, but also trade ties. So it appears that perhaps he detailed some of those comments with President Trump on the phone earlier today.